Good morning, Wellspring.
Good morning.
My name is Judy Bethman, and I'm part of your Sunday celebration team. And I want to welcome you to our virtual hybrid service for February 14, 2021. At this time, I'd like to bring Edward Burbaugh to the podium.
Good morning. Good morning. I think at this time perhaps everyone has heard of Reverend Sam's passing as of yesterday morning. Sam left us a gift called Wellspring. And the love that he and Nancy had for Wellspring will continue through each and every one of us. And it is our responsibility, if you will, to continue that gift of love and spread it through the community. And speaking of love, today is Valentine's Day. And in the 50-some years that Sam and Nancy were married, I don't think there was a Valentine's Day that they didn't spend together. Whoa. Well, today they're together. So anyway, I would say that probably so much could be said, but so little needs to be said at this time, because we all have all those words in our hearts right now. And so let's just take a minute of silence, and we just know that it's okay to grieve. So we just know that the presence of Spirit is all around us. And I'm sure Sam and Nancy are watching from wherever they are. I know they're busy, but they care. And so we will continue with our service today and our annual meeting as scheduled. I just want to say one last thing. Soar on, Sam and Nancy.
Thank you, Edward. For those in the congregation here at Wellspring, stand if you are able. And everybody, let's sing our song of joy.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Ready.
She brings to those who love.
wish upon a star, your dream come
Thank you, everyone, and Mark and Taylor. Okay, let us now read together our vision, mission, and affirmation statement. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: I am aware of the presence of Spirit in my life and the lives of others. I am open to receive the flow of love and all good into my life. I'm at peace, knowing that Spirit is present, operating in all situations. I attract loving relationships that fuel my enthusiasm for life. Thank you. And now, Martha, you are going to do the invocation and the reading.
Good morning, Wellspring. On this Valentine's Day, I invite you to release any stresses involved with getting here this morning or being a part of this presentation. We come together in spirit, and as we gather, we open our hearts and our minds to that incredible creative spirit that is filled with love, that is love. And it is from this love that this universe exists in all of its diversity. And so as we contemplate this incredibly creative spirit, we know that we are one, and that we too manifest this creative ability, and we manifest this divine love in, through, and around our lives with those with whom we come into contact, but we expand it outward to cover and to fill our city, state, country, and the entire planet as we join in unity with one another. And so it is. The reading from this morning comes from Ernest Holmes' book, Creative Ideas. I recognize the power of love and know that good alone is real and enduring. I turn the searchlight of love on every association and every situation, and instantly all inharmony and darkness is dissolved into light. There is complete dissolution of all that opposes the good that flows through me into expression. Love always protects its own and now makes clear the way before me. And so it is. And now Judy is back.
Well, you could have done it too, Martha. It's now my happy pleasure to introduce one of our most creative Valentines, Randy Granger, for our first special song.
I've got these little ear things that I clip onto this. Pretty cool.
Nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, you can learn how to play the game. It's easy, everybody. No, not just yet, sorry. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love, love. Oh, love is all you ever need. Nothing you can know that can be known. Nothing you can see that can be shown. Nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. Oh, all you need is love. La 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 la. All you need is love. La 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 la. All you need is love, love. Oh, love is all you need. All I need is love. La 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 la. All I need is love. All I need is love, love. Oh, love is all I need. Love is all we need. All we need is love. La 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 la. All we need is love. All we need is love, love. Oh, love is all we ever need. It's for you, Sam.
Remember, love is the second axiom on Bethman's 3 axiom. The first is it's all spirit. The second is love is the answer. And the third is change your thinking, change your life. Well, when I was knowing that Randy was going to be our speaker today, I Googled him. Do you know you're Googleable?
Am I?
Yes, you are. And there should be a picture of Randy on a slide.
Is it allowable?
Oh, yeah. Slide 7 should have his picture. Anyway, what Google says about him is quite interesting. Randy Granger is a local professional musician who has a unique sound, drawing on the Southwest United States land and spirituality. He fuses them into a Southwest Americana sound, all his own, blending flutes, handpans, guitars, vocals, and drums, as well as cigar box slide guitars. Have you ever brought that?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, I'm eager. Okay. And world percussion. It is my great pleasure to present to you Randy Granger. You can stand over there, or you come here. Okay.
Thank you so very much. Good morning. Good morning. I kept checking my phone to see if Edward had said, "Stay home, Randy, where you can just zoom in," but it didn't happen. So it's all good. I'm so glad to be here. Glad that you're all here too. I was, of course, sad to hear about Sam's passing. I was sad to hear when Nancy passed last year as well. I've known Sam going all the way back when they were at Mastery in Life. I had to think about what that was called way back when. So today, my sermon was already done before I heard about that, but I did change a little bit of it to reflect Sam's contributions and Sam's inspiration. But today I want to talk about love. I love how you're all dressed. You all just look so fabulous in your colors. I want to talk about love, the difference between authentic love and attachment love. Let's start with a quote by by the late Ram Dass when he said, "If you think you're so enlightened, go spend a week with your family." Now, Mother Teresa followed up. She said, "If you want to change the world, go home and love your family." This being the month of love, and today is Valentine's Day, and me being a songwriter, of course, I was thinking of how many thousands of songs have the title love in it. So here are a few. Love hurts. Love in an elevator. Love like winter, appropriate. I'm all out of love. Lost in love. Love is my disease. All you need is love. Love will tear us apart. Love is like oxygen. Love shack, your love is my drug. What's love got to do with it? I'm addicted to love. Love lockdown, another appropriate one. Love bites. Tainted love. Love stinks. If you don't believe I love you, just ask my wife. My uncle used to love me, but she died. These are real titles. And my favorite one, I love you, you're perfect, now change. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a major legal contract site recently announced that they had a 34% rise, an increase in their basic divorce agreement paperwork, with newlyweds who got married in the previous 5 months making up 20% of those sales. A law firm logged 122% increase in inquiries of divorces during the lockdown between July and October. Breakups have been on the rise steadily, leading a writer from Austin to post, "I joked to a friend there are two things I need to help me recover from my breakup, a hug and a bartender. Unfortunately, I don't have access to either one." If you're in lockdown together with somebody, you notice how loud your partner chews. You notice their strange habits, their idiosyncrasies, your own impatience. The fantasy idea that our partners should be our counselors, our saviors, our mentor, our romantic novel lover, our sage, our servant, well, that's kind of an unreal expectation that we've projected onto many of our partners. When I officiate marriages, I always say at the end, I remind them, do not go to bed angry ever at each other, and remember the small stuff is just that. There's a difference between attachment love and genuine love. Now, we can mistake the idea of love for attachment. We imagine that the grasping and the clinging that we have in the relationships shows that we're even more in love, but it's actually attachment, and attachment, as we know through Buddhism, causes pain. The more we grasp, the more we're afraid to lose, which causes us to suffer. Attachment says, I love you, therefore make me happy. Genuine love says, I love you, therefore I want you to be happy. If that includes me, great. If not, I want your happiness no matter what. It's a very different feeling. The thing about attachment love is it's holding very tight, whereas genuine love lets things go. It holds them gently and loosely and nurturing, but allowing things to flow and to be present. In an ideal situation, the people should come together when they're already fulfilled within themselves, therefore they can appreciate that within the other person. We can't fix other people, if you haven't figured that out already. The idea of marriage for love, when you do the research on it, really is a modern notion. Sartre said, hell is other people. What he was saying, I researched it, what he was saying is when we think about ourselves, when we try to know ourselves, we judge ourselves with the means other people have given us for judging ourselves. This can activate our own fears and our insecurities and those unwanted feelings of resentment and contempt, self-judgment, and we can come to see that person as the sole cause of our discomfort. Then we dehumanize them, fear them, belittle them, hate them, abuse them, blame them. Several years ago, after the 1993 riots in Los Angeles, Michael Meade, Jack Kornfield, and a bunch of other spiritual teachers, they got together and they organized a series of multicultural retreats to look at the difficult dialogue on race. In one of the workshops, there were men from the Black and the Latino communities of Watts and East LA. They were joined by the white participants. So they were teaching and storytelling. They were borrowing from the West African traditions, from Native American, and from Buddhist traditions and rituals. But one of the most heated moments came when this white man who was a participant got up and he said, you know, when those riots came 2 miles within my house in Los Angeles, I was so frightened that I went out and bought a gun. I was worried about me and my family. And so several black men instantly, they bolted from their seats to confront him. And they said, who are you going to kill with that gun? Huh? You're going to shoot black men, aren't you? One man said. And then another one said, you want to talk about fear, brother? If you want to be afraid, look in the mirror. Look who invented the machine gun, the landmine. Look at the owners of the gun factories. Look who built and used the nuclear weapons. Look at who shipped 20 million people to this country as slave labor, who fought the biggest wars in the last 1,000 years and who colonized the world. You want to be afraid? Look at white people. You better sell that gun, man. Well, of course, several white men rose to their feet and they started pointing their finger back and saying, you know, he has a right to defend himself. We have a right to defend ourselves. And other black men rose up and they shouted, and the tension was building, and they were really afraid things were just about to turn into a mini riot. And then Ralph Steele, a 6'2" African-American Buddhist teacher, he stood up, and you could hear when he talked his South Carolina Gullah accent. And he said, you know, I live in rural New Mexico, where everyone has guns for hunting and protection, but I don't have one. When I was in Vietnam, I saw enough shooting to last a lifetime. We would go out on patrol or into the villages every day. Somebody would get shot. Sometimes it was your best friend. We would get to a new area and people would move and start scurrying, and the guys would get spooked and some of them would start shooting. Later we found out we killed women and children. There were some human beings in our company, he said, who liked shooting other human beings. In fact, they even liked shooting women and children. We didn't know what to do with those people, he said, but it was my way of life for 2 years. And then he said, you don't want a gun. It doesn't matter who you are. You do not want a gun. You don't want the dreams, the nightmares that come from using a gun. You don't even want the memory of a gun in your hand. You've got to live with a lifetime of that. So he just stood there and he kind of looked around at everybody in that commanding presence. And when he finished speaking, everybody just kind of sat down, because he had spoken without anger or defensiveness, but with a compassion bigger than all of the anger and the fear in the room. By listening with the heart, by giving voice to the truth of compassion, one person can turn the energy of a conflict back towards peace. Martin Luther King Jr., and this is Black History Month, he said, darkness, this is a famous quote, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And from a return to love, darkness is just the absence of light, and fear is just the absence of love. We can't get rid of darkness by hitting it with a bat, because there's nothing to hit. If we want to be rid of darkness, we must turn on a light. Similarly, if we want to be rid of fear, we cannot fight it, but we must replace it with love. A Course in Miracles, which most people probably here are very familiar with, teaches that in any given moment, we have a choice of choosing between love and fear. We either respond from love or we react out of fear. Whichever one we choose is the one that we are teaching in any given moment. Our responsibility is to do our best, really, to always choose love, to teach love no matter what. Even when someone or something offends your sensibilities, we're not exempted from responding in love. And no, it's not easy. But we're humans in the same bag. We humans are stones in the same bag, rubbing against each other and noisily polishing each other. I've always liked that. But it's easy to forgive people who have never done anything to make us angry, isn't it? People who do make us angry are the most important teachers when you think about it. They indicate the limits of our capacity for forgiveness. The decision to let go our grievances against other people and is the decision to see ourselves as we truly are, because any darkness that we let blind us to another's perfection also blinds us to our own. It can be really difficult to let go of your perception of someone's guilt when you know that by every standard of ethics, morality, or integrity, you're right to find fault with them. So as Marianne Williamson famously says, you know, do you prefer to be right or do you prefer to be happy? So how do we pivot? How do we move from fear to love, especially lately? I remember first hearing that Heart Sutra that says, I release this grievance and I choose the miracle. Are you familiar with that? That saying, I release this grievance and I choose the miracle? That also comes from it's been translated through Buddhism, but also through a Course in Miracles and through a Return to Love that Marianne Williams had put together. So that's a way of seeing a situation differently. And the miracle that is referring to is what happens when fear is transmuted into love. Pain and fear that is not transmuted is transmitted. That's a pretty well-worn saying in the recovery community. Pain that is not transmitted or transfused or transmuted, transformed, is transmitted. Pain begets pain, in other words. So we have to remove the blocks of awareness of love presence, in order that we may know the love that we are. There's a practice called Tonglen where you breathe in all of life's pain and you breathe out life's light. I think I spoke about it a few months back. But so in pivoting from fear to love, we also have to know that only love is real. And that sounds almost cliche nowadays, but it's very, very true. It's very real that nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. So in returning to love, we release anything we created without it. Let that sink in. I love it. So if God is love, okay, then so are we. You know, we in the New Thought community, we always say that God is love. We don't say God loves or God is loving, but rather God is the very principle of love itself. Everything that's ever been created has been created through that love of creation, of spirit, of God, of the force, however you come to see it. That includes you and me, because the law of love is active in us now, in our blood, in our bones, in our cells, in our atoms, and in our body. And we're the grateful recipients of that. We don't even have to think about breathing. We don't even have to think about our heart pumping the millions of gallons that it does every time. We don't have to think about, within 1 second, 10 million cells have died in your body. And that next second, 10 million cells are created. Who's doing that? Love's doing that. So by returning back to that simple love and understanding, oh yes, I am part of this much bigger creation, this much bigger love, we change our perspective. So in other words, we go from the grievance to the miracle. Teach only love. That is what you are. We're called to forgive and let go and release. Constantly say to Spirit, I am willing to see this differently. That's what I say all the time. I'm willing to see this differently. Help me to see this differently. Help me to see this person, this situation through God's eyes, as God sees them, as God sees me. We have to say it so often that it just becomes our nature. It actually is our first nature, so we have to make it our second nature. So we teach only love, for that is what we are, and it can be as simple as practice as seeing through the eyes of compassion in any given moment, both towards ourselves and towards other people. Nelson Mandela spent the first 18 of his 27 years in the brutal Robben island prison down in South Africa. And he says it this way. He says, thinking too well of people often allows them to behave better than they otherwise would. Isn't that neat? Thinking too well of people often allows them to behave better than they otherwise would. That's giving people the benefit of the doubt. That's given people the thought that they are part of creation too, that they're also part of that same love. I have a habit when I see people staring at me, I smile back at them. You know, it's a very disarming, very diffusing thing to do. I don't know about you, if anyone in this room, but I've often asked God, why do I have to be so enlightened? why do I have to be the compassionate one in this situation? Why am I the only one who seems to need to change or to forgive? And I think about that when I start to feel a little overwhelmed or maybe sorry for myself. So many burdens have been thrown on me. And then I'll hear God's answer. And God's answer comes through someone else telling me, you know, you've been a real example to me in my struggles. Ding! That light comes on. We are here to teach only love. Otherwise, we would be at home yelling at our TV or online venting out our anger on Facebook, wouldn't we? But you're here, each of you, those people on Zoom. You're here, you're present, you're teaching, you're learning, you're letting go the grievances, you're choosing the miracles. So thank you for that, teacher. Every one of you. We are teachers. We're here because we believe that there is a better way of being, a better way of going through this world and teaching love. That was a beautiful reading that Martha did of Ernest Holmes. I always love that when he uses the spotlight of love in there. There's another reading from Ernest Holmes that I came across recently from a Holmes reader on practical wisdom. It's the only one I've seen like this that talks about love, and it's beautiful. I hope it resonates with you. He says, love is a universal language, interpreted through every living soul and understood by all. Love will find the solution to every problem, will answer every question, and will ultimately vanquish every foe. Love begets tolerance. Tolerance begets understanding, and understanding able to put itself in the other person's place. Love is unity, understanding, harmony. Love would sit within every person, flowing through and permeating one's entire being. Love is a synonym for God and the universal outpouring of the Spirit through law, wisdom, life, and action. God knows us in love. We know God only through love. When we love humanity, we are loving God in and through others. It is impossible to enter a state of peace without love. Love is the only reality there is. It's just beautiful. It just sums up everything that I try to understand daily about loving my neighbor, loving those who would persecute, loving those who have persecuted, who've injured us in some way. I release this grievance and I choose the miracle. Choosing the miracle is that transformation into love. I'm going to end with a prayer and a poem as our meditation, as our quiet time. And before I do this, I just once again want to honor Sam's life. I want to honor Sam's teaching, Sam's legacy. We're all his legacy. This building is his legacy. This space is his legacy. I'm his legacy. You're his legacy. Because Sam and Nancy had a strong vision. I remember way back when they were first talking about opening their own church, and they did have a beautiful vision. And then they set up over there on that street behind Walmart for a while, and then they came out here. And I remember Sam telling me, he said, "Do you know why I got that space, Randy?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, because I Googled where all of the congregation lives, and this was the heart of that, this place, this space here. And so I thought, well, that's wonderful. He's created that heart where we all come together. So if you would, close your eyes, put your feet on the floor if you're comfortable doing that, and go within that heart space within yourself and let whatever feelings you have right now about Sam, about yourself, about love, someone you're missing, someone who comes to your mind as you absorb the words of this poem by Susan Griffin. At the center of the earth, there is a mother. If any of us who are her children choose to die, she feels a grief like a wound deeper than any of us can imagine. She puts her hands to her face like this, her palms open. Put them there like she does. Her fingers press into her eyes. Do that too. She tries to howl. Some of us have decided this mother cannot hear us all in our desperate wishes. Here, in this time, our hearts have been cut into small chambers like ration cards, and we no longer imagine every morsel, nor each tiny thought at once, as she still can. This is normal. She tries to tell us, but we don't listen. We don't listen. Sometimes someone has a faint memory of all of this, and she suffers. She is wrong to imagine that she suffers alone. Do you think we are not all hearing and speaking at the same time? Our mother is somber. She's thinking. She puts her big ear against the sky to comfort herself. Do this, she calls to us. Do this. So just take a moment to breathe in the fact that we're here on a planet that sustains us and supports us without us asking a single thing, needing to do anything. Our Earth Mother has her own life, her own growth, her own wishes, and her own grief. And at any time we can give that grief to her, and she will take it and hold it all and transmute it back to us. Maybe in the form of a bird singing today, maybe in the form of a beautiful snowflake, maybe in the form of a friend reaching out to you, saying, I'm thinking about you and I love you. And so it is.
Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. And deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace of a mother's love to you. Deep peace of a child's smile to you. Deep peace of a father's kiss to you. Deep peace of a lover's voice to you. And deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. And deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. moon and stars pour their healing light on you, and deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace to you.
Thank you so much, Randy. Being a conduit of God's love is a great responsibility for us all. All right, now we have a few announcements. Our prayer team remains ready to serve and to support you. We have a submit a prayer request button on our webpage for you, or you may contact Martha Ward or Geneva Collins with your request. That information is also on our website, www.wellspringnow.com. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting quietly in a chair or quiet space during that time. We know we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. Early Birds meet Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is in the weekly email and on our website. Speakers for February. Next week, Edward Burbaugh will speak on Where's God during COVID? And on the 28th, Peggy Shin will speak. Upcoming annual meeting hosted by Wellspring Board of Trustees. What is Wellspring's new normal? We will have a 10-minute break after the service, and the meeting will start at like 12:15, somewhere around there. This gives you time to have a bathroom break and grab a sandwich. Remember, we are your board and take direction from you. In February, we have upcoming board vacancies. Please consider running for a position, as the future of Wellspring is in your hands. And we will take nominations from the Zoom floor too. All right. Wellspring has always been a tithing community, and 10% of what we receive goes directly to mostly local charities. During this time of virtual services, we thank you for your continuing spirit of giving. We ask that you mail your offerings to Wellspring Church P.O. Box 1533, Las Cruces 88004, or you can use the donate button on our website to make a donation. We give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. There are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of this service, and we are grateful for their service, and we thank you for joining us today. And lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service, but do take care of essentials, especially eating. And Please stand if you are able in the sanctuary and read the benediction, followed by our congregational song.
Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world. And so it is.